What's up everybody, Jake here. Let's continue my modular toolbox series by comparing these compact organizers from Ridgid 2.0, Flex Stack Pack, and Milwaukee Packout. Before exterior and interior features, let's compare pricing and specs. The most expensive box, as usual, is from Flex for $39.98. Packout is a bit lower at $34.97, and the Ridgid is the cheapest at $24.97. When we look at the exterior dimensions, it's pretty noticeable that the Ridgid is a bit smaller than the Packout and Stack Pack. If you were to compare the exterior dimensions alone, the Ridgid box is between the two compact Packout organizers. At $29.97, the smaller Packout box is still more expensive and has less storage capacity, so the Ridgid is a pretty good deal. All three of these boxes have an IP65 rating. That means that the seals on these boxes should keep the boxes dust tight and protect them from low pressure water streams from any angle. Let's get into exterior features, starting with latches. They all use the wire gate design and are similar in size, but there are a few quirks to each box. The Flex latches take the most amount of force to open and close. The Packout is by far the easiest, and the Ridgid is about in the middle. The wire gates on the Packout and Flex don't rotate as loosely as the Ridgid. I like how the Ridgid is looser because it sort of automatically gets out of the way when you open the box, and it's easy to swing back into position when it's time to close it up. The Flex latches require the most force and are also the loudest. The Packout latches are easiest to close, but they still provide a super tight fit. Milwaukee did a good job placing the wire somewhere in the latch to get a good amount of leverage. I know this test is kind of subjective, but if you tried out these different systems, comment below which is your favorite latch and why. Next up, let's compare the handles. Right off the bat, the most noticeable thing about the Flex is the amount of force it requires to pull it to its top position. I personally don't think it's that necessary for it to have such a positive fit at the top. The next thing I noticed is how close the handle is to the outside edge of the lid. I had the same issue with the other Flex boxes in my comparison video. Unless you have tiny hands or grab it very loosely, you'll smash your knuckles into the lid. There's less than an inch clearance for your knuckles, and the rubber grip is about 4 inches wide. The Packout organizer has a very slight positive lock at the top and bottom. There's also much more room for your knuckles. There's over an inch clearance, and the rubber grip is also about 4 inches wide. The Ridgid organizer doesn't have a truly dedicated handle like the other two, but the connecting bar can still function as a handle. It's not a super comfortable grip because it's so skinny, but there is more room for your knuckles than the Flex. There are also some nice ledges on the sides of the Ridgid and Packout boxes if you wanted to carry it that way. The Flex doesn't have a secondary hand position, which is kind of disappointing since the handle is not the best. I think the most important feature of these modular toolboxes is the connecting mechanisms. To connect the Flex compact organizer to a full-size box, you need to raise the middle connector. It's obviously not the worst thing you have to do, but it is an extra step. I'll admit that the spring-loaded side connectors are pretty satisfying, but when the box clicks into place, I found two issues. The handle has to be lifted up to get access to the connector if you want to take the box off. And if you attach this half box to a full-size organizer, you can't open that lid. The connecting mechanism isn't on the lid of the full-size organizer, so it acts as a secondary lock. The points of contact on the Flex box are on the corners and the middle of the box. It's pretty interesting seeing that the middle of the box is completely floating. The half organizer is a pretty tight fit. I think it's actually more secure than when the full-size boxes are stacked together. Packout's connecting mechanism is arguably the best feature of that system. The 6 feet that slide into the cleats on the lid provide a secure fit, and the one-handed latch makes stacking and unstacking a breeze. I found that the organizers, when they're stacked on top of each other, tend to move around a bit more than when an organizer is stacked on a toolbox. The Ridgid connecting mechanism is the simplest of the three, but the integrated grooves might give it a leg up on the Flex. I don't have a full organizer here to demonstrate, but if you were to stack a half organizer on the full one, you will have the same issue as the Flex. The lids might seem like a small detail, but the Ridgid and Packout organizers can hold their lids in 2 positions. I don't use the flat option often, but if the lids were to be accidentally hit when they're in the upright position, the Ridgid and Packout would just probably fall down. The Flex hinge or lid might break. A simple test to show the strength of the hinge and lid is what I'll call the deflection test. By latching only one side, you can see the Packout lid moves a bit. I think you might lose a few screws out of a bin if that happened. The Ridgid organizer has a thinner lid, so it deflects more. You might lose a few more parts than the Packout. The Flex's lid is very sturdy and maintains a good connection with the bins, but with that being said, the lid is also much thicker than Packout and Ridgid. If you don't need that extra durability, it's sort of a waste of space. There's 2 more exterior features I'll quickly mention. Currently in all Ridgid 2.0 boxes, they're including a wall mount. The wall mount for the Ridgid organizer has holes 7 inches apart, and it can hold the box conveniently on the wall. A solution I have to hang my Packouts on a wall are these 3D printed cleats. You can also buy other products from the Packout community, or even the Packout mounting plate. Currently there is no way to mount the Flex boxes to the wall, but Flex boxes do have accessory ready corners. I don't know what you can effectively put on this half box, but maybe they'll come out with a magnetic cup, which could be kind of cool. The inside features might be what makes or breaks your opinion on these 3 boxes. Packout has 5 bins, including 1 long one, but none of them have any grooves for dividers. Ridgid has 7 bins, including 1 long one with 2 slots for dividers. Flex has 4 bins, including 1 medium one and 1 long one. All of the Flex bins have grooves for dividers. I would say that the Packout box holds the bins most securely. The deep chamfers on the lid not only hold the bins in place well, but also makes it the easiest to close. The chamfers kind of guide the bins into their optimal position, even after they've been jostled around a little bit. The Ridgid bins are held in pretty securely as well. The chamfers on the lid aren't as deep as Packout, but there are outlines of the bins molded to the bottom of the box. So even without the lid, the bins don't move around very much. The Flex bins move around the most. I've noticed it can make closing the lid a bit of a hassle. But if you move the long bin to the front, I've had a little bit better luck closing it first try. The individual Packout bins have a special features the others don't. There are 2 small cutouts on the back, so you can hang a bin on the wall using 2 screws. Similar to this is how the Flex bins are being marketed, that they can seamlessly transition from an organizer to the side of a box. But that does require an additional purchase of the front rail for 20 bucks or the side rails for 40. If you didn't know, the Packout modding community has already come out with a solution like that. There's a whole system of custom rails known as pack straps sold by Kaizen Source. For more info on these systems, make sure to check out some of my previous videos, including a first impressions video on the Ridgid 2.0, first impressions on the Flex Stack Pack, and a comparison video of all 3 systems. As always, smash the like button if you learned something new. Comment any thoughts or questions below, and subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notified of future tool content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.